Now, it is time for, and we won't play the intro, but I can tell you it's time for Free Speech Fridays, where we get two free-speaking and free-thinking New Zealanders together and we run past with them the issues of the day and the week, the issues abroad in New Zealand. This is sponsored or supported by the Free Speech Union, who are the champions of free speech in this country, scored an excellent win this week in negotiating, I think, a decent settlement and way forward for Marlborough Public Library, which had sought to deplatform a group called Let Kids Be Kids. Joining us for Free Speech Friday today, my old mate Mark Champion from down in Dunedin, and journalist Yvonne Van Dongen, friend of the platform. Welcome to you both. Lovely to have you on the program. How are you, Yvonne?
I'm very good, thank you, Sean.
All right, and Mark, how's things?
Yeah,
Bit cold
good,
down south?
Oh, she's nippy on the coldest and shortest day.
Is it the shortest? Oh, it is the shortest day today too. Very well spotted, guys. All right, I'm not quite too sure where to start today. Let's start with the transgender, the men and women sport. And New Zealand First campaigned on this, that they were going to sort all this out. Lauren Hubbard, of course, being the most famous bloke competing as a woman athlete in New Zealand. And a global trend against this craziness going on. But Sport New Zealand are saying that we put diversity before fairness when it comes to biological men competing with women in sport in New Zealand. Chris Bishop seems to say that's okay. It's a watching brief that we've got. And Winston Peters says that attitude is a breach of the coalition agreement. Yvonne, what's going on here?
I don't know. I'm beginning to think that both Labour and National are about two cheeks of the same a-hole, to be honest, when it comes to this issue. And the only person speaking any sense is Winston. And he should be rating.
Well, we're in trouble when that's the case, Yvonne.
Well, yeah, but he's only saying what everybody knows to be true. That's all it is. It's just reality. And most New Zealanders support this. So why don't the three Chris's get together and just agree the truth? And I think actually it needs a shake-up in Parliament, and everybody should be forced to say what a woman is and whether they think they're entitled to single-sex spaces, really, because they can't keep kicking this can down the road the whole time. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Mark, well, Raylene Castle in herself is a diversity hire, and she's a walking bloody disaster when it comes to these issues. But it seems to me this is the bureaucrats giving a new government the finger.
Well, look, I think that that the diversity issue, if you break it down, is who decides what's diverse enough. And that's the issue for me, is that someone has to decide whether we've reached the nirvana of diversity and that all the boundaries have been broken down. Or I could simply race my greyhound in the 100 metres at the Olympics. You know, how far do you want to take this?
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you see, though, Bishop says, not a big issue, we've got a watching brief. Clearly Winston Peters is at odds with that, Mark.
Yeah, unless there's just simply confusion, or in another way of looking at it is that the Nats, how many issues do you want to pick off at a time? You know, they've got quite a few on their plate at the moment. They must be feeling a little bit raw. And if I was Chris Bishop, I'd want to shut this one down and deal with it when there's a little less flack going around.
All right. Yvonne, there's some other stuff going on around this. I did a little Facebook post with my tongue in my cheek about a something at the Upper Hutt Library. Are you doing some work on that?
Yeah. They've had quite a few complaints. Yesterday they had 35. There's a drag king that's a woman who dresses as a male, and it's still adult entertainment, and the photo of her looks pretty scary.
Is that what a drag king, a woman who dresses up as a man dressing up as a woman?
Yeah. You know, it doesn't dresses up, a woman who dresses up as a man. It's still adult entertainment. If you look at her Facebook page posters, it does look like that.
Yeah.
And also her name is Willie Smackintosh. Willie Smackintosh. I mean, That's a ridiculous.
So what on
hypersexualised
earth is
name.
Upper Hutt Public Library
I
doing?
don't know. Yeah, they said
Just
that
why?
she's got 3 children. It's family friendly. All the content there's nothing sexual about it. I mean, when did librarians get so dim and so woke? It's really extraordinary. They're convinced it's actually perfectly acceptable, but they know I reckon so it's coming next week. By that time, they've had 35 already complaints.
And we'll have
I'd say
Bruce
as 50.
Tamaki down there and the whole lot.
Yeah,
Does this happen in Dunedin, Mark?
Not that I know of, Sean. I don't really frequent the library, so I.
And you don't admit that in a bad way.
I don't. I haven't seen any drag kings that I'm aware of. I may have done.
Yeah. All right.
It's Pride Month, though. It's Pride Month.
Yeah, it's Pride Month. Yeah, of course, I forgot that. Look, I want to move on to other things. Nobby Clark, right? Nobby Clark, who will call a spade a bad racist word. But we all knew that about Nobby Clark when he was elected, Mark and Yvonne. Now it would seem to me that his chief executive, or town clerk as I like to call them, and a bunch of his political opponents are trying to get him, kind of trying to pressure him to just give up and go away. It looks horribly political to me and horribly undemocratic, Mark.
Look, it's very un-Southland. I mean, we had 12 years of most people wanting Tim Shadbolt and a few people trying to constantly get rid of him. Now, you've got to understand, Otago and Southland are very different. They're like chalk and cheese. You've got Dunedin, which described by one Attorney General as a socialist hellhole. And then you've got Southland, that's a wellspring of traditional and conservative values.
Yeah.
Sort of barring a couple of hiccups with National Party candidates. And, you've got Nobby, who clearly lost his Swede at this do, and and some would like to see him cheese rolled and shucked out of office. But I think there's very little chance of that because I think Southlanders, like Nobby, they always have. And it's not up to the town clerk to decide who's mayor.
Yeah. Well, I noticed, and you may not be aware of this, Mark Champion, Local Government New Zealand also seem to be the people who are driving these codes of conduct for all local bodies as being a way to remove people. Apparently, the kind of legitimacy of these complaints has never been tested in court, and there is some question around it. And guess who is conducting the Code of Conduct inquiry, or I've been told, for Local Government New Zealand into Nobby Clark?
A lawyer?
Which lawyer?
Linda Clark?
Linda Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Look, local government New Zealand must be still living off the cheque that the Labor government wrote them to support Three Waters.
Yeah.
And they've been sucking at the tit of the Labor government, and they've got to get off that drug and go out and represent